Oh, I wish I knew. How I wish I knew. It must be something grand. It can't be a butterfly. It's way too big. Oh, I wish there was someone to tell me what it is." He climbed on the locust post, and balancing himself with the wire, held a finger in the line of the moth's advance up the twig. It unhesitatingly climbed on, so he stepped to the path, holding it to the light and examining it closely. Then he held it in the shade and turned it, gloating over its markings and beautiful coloring. When he held the moth to the limb, it climbed on, still waving those magnificent wings. "My, but I'd like to be staying with you," he said. "But if I was to stand here all day you couldn't grow any prettier than you are right now, and I wouldn't grow smart enough to tell what you are. I suppose there's someone who knows. Of course there is. Mr. McLean said there were people who knew every leaf, bird, and flower in the Limberlost. Oh Lord, I wish you'd be telling me just this one thing." The goldfinch had ventured back to the wire, for there was his mate, only a few inches above the man creature's head, and indeed he simply must not be allowed to look up. So the brave little fellow rocked on the wire and piped, as he had done every day for a week. "See me? See me?" "See you? Of course I see you," growled Freckles. "I see you day after day, and what good is it doing me? I might see you every morning for a year and then not be able to be telling anyone about it. Seen a bird with black silk wings, little and yellow as any canary. That's as far as I'd get. What are you doing here anyway? Have you a mate? What's your name? See you? I reckon I see you, but I might as well be blind for any good that it's doing me." Freckles impatiently struck the wire. With a screech of fear the goldfinch fled precipitately. His mate arose from the nest with a whir. Freckles looked up and saw it. "Oh ho!" he cried. "So that's what you're doing here. You have a wife, and so close my head I've been mighty near wearing a bird on my bonnet and never knew it." Freckles laughed at his own jest, while in better humor he climbed to examine the neat tiny cradle and its contents. The hen darted at him in a frenzy. "Now where do you come in?" he demanded, when he saw she was not similar to the goldfinch. "You be clearing out of here. This is none of your fry. This is the nest of me little yellow friend of the wire, and you shan't be touching it. Don't blame you for wanting to see, though. My, it's a fine nest, and beauties of eggs. Will you be keeping away, or will I fire the stick at you?" Freckles dropped to the trail. The hen darted to the nest, settled on it with a tender, coddling movement. He of the yellow coat flew to the edge to make sure that everything was right. It would have been plain to the veriest novice that they were partners in that cradle. "Well, I'll be switched," muttered Freckles, "if that ain't both their nest. And he's yellow and she's green, or she's yellow and he's green. Of course, I don't know, and I haven't any way to find out. But it's as plain as the nose on your face that they're both ready to be fighting for that nest, so of course they belong. Doesn't that beat you? Say, that's what's been sticking me all this week on that grass nest in the thorn tree down the line. One day a bluebird is setting, so I think it's hers. The next day a brown bird is on, and I chase it off because the nest is blue's. Next day the brown bird is on again, and I let her be because I think it must be hers. Next day, be golly, blue's on, and off I send her 'cause it's brown's. And now I bet my hat it's both their nest, and I've only been bothering 'em and making a big fool of meself. Pretty specimen I am, pretending to be a friend of the birds, and so blamed ignorant I don't know which ones go in pairs, and blue and brown are a pair, of course, if yellow and green are. And there's the red birds. I never thought of them. He's red and she's gray. And now I want to be knowing, are they all different? Why, no. Of course they ain't. There's the jays all blue, and the crows all black." The tide of Freckles' discontent welled until he almost choked with anger and chagrin. He plodded down the trail, scowling blackly and viciously spanging the wire. At the finch's nest he left the line and peered into the thorn tree. There was no bird brooding. He pressed closer to take a peep at the snowy, spotless little eggs he had found so beautiful, when at the slight noise up raised four tiny baby heads with wide open mouths uttering hunger cries. Freckles stepped back. The brown bird alighted on the edge and closed one cavity with the wiggling green worm, while not 2 minutes later the blue filled another with a white. That settled it. The blue and the brown were mates. Once again Freckles repeated his "How I wish I knew." Around the bridge spanning Sleepy Snake Creek the swales spread widely, the timber was scattering, and willows, rushes, marsh grass, and splendid wild flowers grew abundantly. Here lazy, big, black water snakes, for which the creek was named, sunned on the bushes. Wild ducks and grebe chattered. Cranes and herons fished, and muskrats plowed the bank in queer rolling furrows. It was always a place full of interest, so Freckles loved to linger on the bridge, watching the marsh and water people. He also transacted affairs of importance with the wildflowers and sweet marsh grass. He enjoyed splashing through the shallow pools on either side of the bridge. Then, too, where the creek entered the swamp was a place of unusual beauty. The water spread in darksome, mossy green pools. Water plants and lilies grew luxuriantly, throwing up large, rank green leaves. Nowhere else in the Limberlost could be found frog music to equal that of the mouth of the creek. The drumming and piping rolled in never-ending orchestral effect, while the full chorus rang to its accompaniment throughout the season. Freckles slowly followed the path leading from the bridge to the line. This was the one spot at which he might relax his vigilance. The boldest timber thief the swamp had ever known would not have attempted to enter it by the mouth of the creek, on account of the water and because there was no protection from surrounding trees. He was bending the rank grass with his cudgel and thinking of the shade the denser swamp afforded when he suddenly dodged sidewise. The cudgel whistled sharply through the air, and Freckles sprang back. From the clear sky above him, first level with his face, then skimming, dipping, tilting, whirling until it struck, quill down, in the path in front of him, came a glossy, iridescent, big black feather. As it touched the ground, Freckles snatched it up with almost a continuous movement facing the sky. There was not a tree of any size in a large open space. There was no wind to carry it. From the clear sky it had fallen, and Freckles, gazing eagerly into the arch of June blue with a few lazy clouds floating high in the sea of ether, had neither mind nor knowledge to dream of a bird hanging as if frozen there. He turned the big quill questioningly, and again his awed eyes swept the sky. "A feather dropped from heaven," he breathed reverently. "Are the holy angels molting? But no, if they were, it would be white. Maybe all the angels are not for being white. What if the angels of God are white and those of the devil are black? But a black one has no business up there. Maybe some poor black angel is so tired of being punished it's for slipping to the gates, beating its wings, trying to make the master hear." Again and again Freckles searched the sky, but there was no answering gleam of golden gates, no form of sailing bird. Then he went slowly on his way, turning the feather and wondering about it. It was a wing quill, 18 inches in length, with a heavy spine, gray at the base, shading to jet black at the tip, and it caught the play of the sun's rays in slanting gleams of green and bronze. Again Freckles, old man of the sea, sat sullen and heavy on his shoulders and weighted him down until his step lagged and his heart ached. Where did it come from? What is it? Oh, how I wish I knew, he kept repeating as he turned and studied the feather with almost unseeing eyes, so intently was he thinking. Before him spread a large green pool filled with rotting logs and leaves, bordered with delicate ferns and grasses, among which lifted the creamy spikes of the arrowhead, the blue of water hyacinth, and the delicate yellow of the jewel flower. As Freckles leaned, handling the feather and staring at it, then into the depths of the pool, he once more gave voice to his old query, "I wonder what it is." Straight across from him, couched in the mosses of a soggy old log, A big green bullfrog with palpitant throat and batting eyes lifted his